Millie, what's good, bro? Yeah, about to get after it today. Oh, perfect. Got some people coming in. Come on in. We have a good discussion coming today. Good discussion coming. Bored at work? Well, I'm about to drop some knowledge on you right now. So, we're about to talk about some good stuff today. Give you something to get through work. And give it a couple more minutes. See if we get some more people to drop in. I'll start at like 3:05. Who is can't tell me nothing? Is that Buddy? Hey, Buddy! It's about to get lit. Perfect. Buddy, you're gonna love this information today. We got bars coming, bars. Alright, so I'm just gonna get started now. So, today we are talking about grounding. Grounding, earthing, however you want to put it, the importance of it, and what it actually means, right? Because right now we got to get into the physical body a little bit. We got to start to understand our connection, right? So when I talk about this, we talk about connection, we talk about all this. Remember that we're in the ascension process here. That's what this conversation is coming from. We're going to start talking about how to raise that consciousness to a crazy level. The problem is that we don't even understand the beauty of just this earth here and what it can do for us, right? This has more than consciousness, and this has health benefits too. If you guys see my Facebook today, if you guys saw my Twitter, I posted some links to the leading scientists and researchers who actually study earthing. That's the reason why we're doing this right on the earth today, so everyone can get a nice feel for it, start to get connected again. Bro, yes, I'm 110% for that, but I'll let you. I'm coming down to Rhode Island next week, so we can meet up and talk about it. Um, but so earthing. So first, in order to understand earthing, we got to understand that we're electrical beings, right? So I'm made of all electricity. Now, the beauty about Mother Earth here, right, is that Mother Earth, the second that I take my shoes off, and I put my feet on Mother Earth, I automatically zero. Now, what does that mean? Right? So if we talk about ants, right, we know that there's a lot of electricity moving through the air right now, right? We know that there's a lot of stuff with Wi-Fi, there's a lot of different radiations. Now, the reason why most of us get sick and things of this nature is because just before like 60 years ago, people would always have their feet on the ground, right? Even more than that is that people used to have leather-based shoes, so the soles of their shoes used to be leather, but now today they're rubber, right? Why do you think our shoes today are rubber? Because they're insulators, right? That's the major problem, right? So when we have these rubber bottoms on our shoes, it actually insulates the fact that we're electrical beings, right? So what does that mean? Okay, so in order for you to operate, right, because you're an electrical being, right, you need to have a certain amount of electrons always positive moving through your body, right? And what happens with these electrons is that they usually grasp onto red blood cells. So once they grasp to red blood cells, it'll actually separate them a little bit. So your circulation goes up, right? Hypertension goes down. All these different inflammation goes down, right? All these different things. So it makes you wonder why we wear shoes with rubber bottoms, right? And why we don't come and connect to Mother Earth anymore. So if you watch the videos, um, it'll start. We have to start looking at sleeping patterns. We have to start looking at where we are when we sleep, and all of these different natures. So the farther I come away from Mother Earth here, right, the more my body is going to be a conductor and I'm going to use the electrical frequencies that are around me. Now, what's the problem with this? The main problem is that our body sends signals to itself, right, through electrical impulses. So you are a battery, essentially. You are a motherboard, you're a computer, you're all these beautiful things all wrapped into one, right? I am everything. So once we understand that, we start to understand the unity of Christ consciousness. Now, when we talk about Mother Earth and how lovely it is, right? And when I put my feet on it, how we can just change most of our problems, we go and look at that video from earlier. Now, what these studies are finding, right, and the research done on earthing mats, things of that nature, I actually have an earthing mat. I'll grab it for you guys later. So, when you earth, right, your body now starts to get into a place of homeostasis, right? What does that mean? That means my body is at ease. It's operating right within its wheelhouse. So, the more time I spend with my feet out on the ground, the more efficiently my cells can now operate, right? Because now, when I touch the ground, right, it all depends on what we know about physics and electromagnetism and things of that nature. Because the earth is so big, once my feet touch it, I literally become an extension of the earth, right? So I get to actually use all the benefits of the earth's electromagnetism. But if I put rubber soles on my feet, I now cut myself off from it, right? Have we ever heard of these crazy notions, right? Where people like, if you really have a question you need to figure out, just go out into nature, you'll get the answer. Where does that idea come from? Where do these notions of all of these people disappearing into nature for a little bit, coming back refreshed, rejuvenated, new thoughts, right? Because they're literally getting back in touch with the motherboard, right? So if we go through our days, some of us go through a full day never touching our bare feet to the ground. Think about that. That's very normal in society today, right? With concrete grounds, asphalt, all these different things, you are never putting your feet on the ground one time. That's a problem, right? That's why we're always in disease. You notice that most of our diseases are these chronic inflammatory diseases, right? These diseases that are from just wear and tear and stress on the body, stress on the cells. Now, this can be helped, right? We now are in a society now where people are starting to catch on to these things. The problem is that no one's really giving out the information for people to find it. That's why I posted it. So essentially what happens, right? So when we sleep, right? When you go into your sleep cycle, right? That's another problem. A lot of people aren't sleeping like they should, right? But anyway, we'll get into that another day. We're going to sleep next week. But when we talk about just sleeping, right? Most of us live on second floors, right? Third floors, things of that nature. Scientific studies are finding that if you just move up one floor from the ground floor, people have a 40% higher chance of stroke. People get more cancer. People get more illnesses. Just from moving one floor up, right? So we think about this nature. Why is that? Why is that? Then we have to look into nature, right? So when I look into nature, is there anything that sleeps technically suspended in the air, right? That's not connected to anything that touches the ground? Some people would say birds, right? But when you think about a bird, right? It flies in the air and then where does it land? In a tree, right? And the tree has roots, right? And the roots are connected into the ground, right? So the bird, when it sits on the tree, is now grounding. Right? So now we are the only thing, right, on this planet, right, the only being, the only creature, right, that sleeps suspended in the air. We have to start to question these things. So why are you sleeping suspended in the air? Why are there so many electrical wires usually behind your head? This is a good question, right? So things we gotta look up is there's a thing that is called like an amp reader, right? You can go buy it online, things of this nature. It'll actually read the amount of electricity that you're coursing through your body. Now, when your body touches the earth, there's no electricity coursing through your body, right? In some cases, in some rooms, right, some people are channeling like 5, 6, 7 amps of electricity through their body, right? If you're in front of a TV that's turned off, you'll have 3 amps of 3 amps of electricity coursing through your body. That's scary. So what is that doing? right? What those electrical signals are doing are the same thing a radio station does if you're in between channels, right? If I'm listening to the radio and I'm in between channels, I get a lot of static, right? So if I'm catching this static from the radio station, but I have all this extra electricity in my body, what do you think my body's doing? What do you think all the messages my body's trying to send is doing? It's putting static into it, right? Things are becoming not normal. I'm not able to kill free radicals, right? Because what's a cancer cell? But a cell that just doesn't know it's a part of the organism, right? It doesn't know what its job is. It's not receiving the messages anymore. So we look at that. We look at that we're sleeping so high off ground. We look at the fact that we're always walking on concrete, right? We're looking at the fact that we walk on rubber shoes that insulate electricity when we're electrical beings. So you put all these together and we start to see, wow, there's a whole different aspect of wellness that a lot of us are missing, right? A lot of us are missing. Does anyone ever wonder why when you go to the beach and you walk barefoot on the beach, it feels so good? You feel so calm, right? You feel calm because you're earthing, you're grounding, right? The earth is actually stabilizing you. That's why people were always living on the ground. Now, when you think about these things, right, you start to have to question society. You start to have to question these notions, right? Because when we look at anyone who lives out in nature, right, what are they to us? They're savages, right? We think of them as savages. Oh, they were, but in all reality, right, they're always living at peace with nature, right? You don't ever see them going out and just killing things for fun. The notion of just fun hunting for fun. You look at all these different nuances that come up from these things, and we have to start questioning. We have to start questioning how we have all these illnesses, all these things correlate with the time period that humans stopped touching Mother Earth as much. Literally. Like, if you look at the videos that I posted on Facebook, you look at the videos that I posted on Twitter, take a look, right? They have all the charts to explain exactly what I'm talking about. So I have an earthing mat, and I figure that's where I'm going to start a little bit of this conversation with as well. So I have an earthing mat now. I bought it, it came in on Monday, so I've been sleeping with it now for the past, 3 nights? And I just have to say from my experience, right? I sleep soundly. I used to have a little bit of trouble. I used to wake up a little bit in the middle of the night. I sleep harder, right? When I wake up, I notice I'm a lot more refreshed and rejuvenated. All of these different things. Why? Right? What is a earthing mat? How do these things work? So, when you go into your living room, right? You have an outlet, and there's 3 prongs in it, right? You have the 2 on the top and the 1 on the bottom. Now that prong on the bottom, do you know where they get the electricity from that from? Does anyone know? See? No one? Okay. That electricity comes from a copper pipe that they just stick in the ground, right? So that is full ground, that's earth electricity, that's earthing. So what these mats do is you plug them right into that bottom prong, and the second you step on them, you're getting the same electromagnetic pull as the earth is giving out, right? So once we move on these things, and once we start to do this, you start to see people's blood pressure regulate, right? You start to see people with diabetes, their glucose levels start evening out. Now this is nothing that you can't look. There's nothing that I didn't go and put all the information out there for you, right? So these are all things that we wonder, right? You wonder when there's all this Wi-Fi, all this static, all these radio waves, all these things, what they really mean. And people always say, oh, they scramble your brain, they scramble. Now, they don't really scramble your brain, they do cause problems, right? Because it's electrical interference, right? And our body is literally a conductor because we're electric. When I move my arm, that's electrical impulses, right? So any kind of electricity outside of the electricity I'm already generating is going to cause problems, right? It's going to cause problems in the communication of my cells. It's going to cause problems with mitosis, respiration, all of these things that are very important for being human, being homeostasis, being able to live, right? So when you look at animals, right, this is a place where it gets crazy. You look at dogs, you look at cats, right? Studies are showing now that when you place dogs and stuff inside, they have plaque, they get obese, they get all these different things from being inside the house, right? However, dogs who eat the same diet and are just allowed to stay outside and roam around, they don't get the same problems, right? They don't have plaque. They don't weight problems. They don't have all of these things. Why is that? Because they're able to ground. Their body is able to properly break down the things that are going on, right? So that's the problem that we run into with our bodies. That's the problem we run into with all this inflammation. The problem we run into with all these major diseases, right? Because you got to remember, your body is doing everything it can all day to keep you alive and healthy and running efficiently, right? Because that's essentially what cells are doing. Cells are just trying to run as efficiently as possible all the time, right? So when you think of that, and we look at these things, and we look at what the body is talking about here, the body needs to be plugged back into Earth, right? This is pretty much like your charger for your iPhone. So if I'm the iPhone, the Earth is my port, right? The only way that I'm going to be able to rejuvenate, regenerate, get energy is if I can somehow get myself back to the Earth, right? Back to this zeroing, right? This electromagnetic zeroing. I need to get these electrons in my body, right? Because that's really what we're talking about. That's why energy begins with E, electron begins with E, right? Energy is electrons, right? We need electrons in order for our body to be electric, right? That's part of the healing process. That's part of what we need, because you got to remember that until, again, like I said earlier, until 60 years ago, right? We were always on the ground. We had leather soles, right, to our shoes. Now, what does leather do? So when I sweat in leather, the pores in the leather will soak in my sweat, and then it becomes a semiconductor, right? So now I'm not going to get the same exact electrical charge as I would barefoot like I am right now, bare body, bare hands. However, I still was at least getting something. But now and with that, we see that there was a lot less of the illnesses that we have today. Diabetes, things of this nature, rheumatoid arthritis. That wasn't really present like 60, 70 years ago, as heavily as it is today, as prominent as it is today. Now remember, when I say all these things, there are illnesses that were going on back then. People were getting sick still, people were dying and stuff like that. It's not like they were all living forever, you know what I mean? But I'm saying the rate and the amount at which we get sick today, the things that we are sick from today, right, are nuances. Nuances. A lot of these things are nuanced things that haven't really been around before. So what I'm doing in these videos is showing you some of the switches, some of the little secret things that are out there that you guys can use as tools. So my advice, my opinion, right? How to make this work for you. Go on Amazon, right? There's these things, just look up grounding mats, look up earthing mats, look them up, right? They come, they're like this big, right? You just plug them into that bottom hole like I said earlier, and then when you go to bed at night, plug it in and lay it on your bed and sleep on it. Take your shirt off, sleep right on it. I'm telling you, you'll feel the difference. Then when you're just chilling in your house watching TV, plug it into the wall, put your feet on it, right? You'll feel the difference, right? Your body will go to homeostasis, right? You'll start to ease. And these are the things that you need, right? You need to calm that hypertension. We need to get rid of the inflammation, right? Because what is diabetes if we watch What the Health but just inflammation, right? Now I'm not saying that if you just do this, this will be the end-all be-all. I can't even say that as a herbalist, because as a herbalist I know you have to change your diet. You might need to take some herbs, things of that nature, to help lift your body up a bit. But this is at least the start. At least. A lot of you guys will see a lot of your problems go away just by earthing. Earthing. Just go out every day and touch the earth. It's lovely, right? You guys who like to talk about chakras, we like to think about chakra sets, chakra systems, right? Green is the heart, right? Green is your heart. So the more I look at green, the more I'm activating my heart chakra. Why do you think they made money green, right? They want to activate the heart chakra so that you get lustful over money, right? Because they see leaves. Because when I go out into the woods, right? Why when you go out into the woods do you have this feeling, this all-encompassing unity all the time, right? So you come back, you always feel refreshed and rejuvenated, right? Because your heart was wide open the whole time, right? So we talk about these things, we talk about consciousness, right? We talk about ascension, we talk about all these notions. The understanding of ascension, the understanding of consciousness, the understanding of elevating, the understanding of all of this, right, is to start to get back in tune, right? Because that's what these people had, these these people who were ascending, right? These notions of these people who were able to make these huge jumps that had the most broadest consciousness, right? Most of them had a knack for the understanding of nature, understanding of the world, right? When you look up Jesus, right? And I like to use Jesus because some of my teachers would use Jesus, right? Because Christ consciousness, that was the reference. You could use Krishna. Krishna is very similar, right? We could use Buddha. Buddha is very similar, right? But Jesus is an easy one because I know a lot of people around here are Catholic or Christian and things of that nature, and you might be able to call up the New Testament, so it's easier, right? That's why I use that. So he would go out into the wilderness, right? Jesus was out in the wilderness. He met his temptation and he met the devil in the wilderness. He was always telling people go back to the wilderness, right? He was always telling people because there was a science to this, right? And the more that I start understanding this, the more that I research and you guys are seeing, the more I want to come out here. I want to be out on the grass. I want to be out in the elements. I want to get the fresh air, right? Because in the city, we're not getting pure oxygen, right? Everyone's driving by, people are spraying shit. It's not real oxygen, right? So we're not even breathing. We're having trouble breathing. That's where a lot of stuff comes from, right? What regulates your cells, right? What are the things? If you saw the video on vitamin D I posted, right? Vitamin D helps to make your cells efficient. It gets rid of free radical cells. So if I'm not getting enough vitamin D every day, right, I'm already depleted, right? Then I'm not touching my feet on the ground every day. I'm not earthing at all. I'm depleted again. I don't drink enough water. I'm depleted. Then I have meat. Oh, now I'm fucked, right? Now I'm fucked. We gotta figure it out, right? We gotta figure it out, and that's what we're doing here for all of us, because this stuff is for me too, right? We're learning, again, the mechanics, we're learning the steps, we're learning the process to start to reevaluate our relationship, right, to nature, our relationship to ourselves, because a lot of us are having trouble with our relationship here. That's why we're looking for so much stuff, right? Because we don't know how to relate, right? What's the relationship of relating, right? We need to relate to things. That's what we're all dying to do, right? But we're missing out on the true relation, the one relation, the main one that we had that for so long that allowed us to evolve, right? That allowed us to even get to the point that we're at today, right? And we have to start doing that. So we have to start dispelling some of these things in society that make us think differently. Oh. We have to start looking at certain things that come up that don't make sense. We have to get rid of philosophies that don't serve us anymore. Correct? So, if I'm getting rid of philosophies that don't serve me anymore, right? I have to start to really question things, right? So, is our diet serving us, right? Is our diet serving us? Are our day-to-day things that we find important, are they serving us? Because yeah, they're fun sometimes, yeah, they're good, but do they serve you? Right? Do they make you better? Do you grow, right, from these things? And that's what we have to start to question, right? And I feel that once we get to the point where we can start earthing, right, and we start to understand just our connection to earth, because once we start talking about earthing, then you start to understand that we have more of a divine connection with earth than we like to give ourselves, like any now, like we like to accept. I'll say, I'm sorry, that we like to accept because we accept a lot, right? People come out with a new drug that's supposed to make you like a superhero, right? We accept that, but we have trouble accepting when people say get back to nature. The simplest things, right? We have trouble when people say take your shoes off and put your feet on the ground, see how it feels. We don't want to do that, right? We want to stay in the spot where we're living this way that we are now, right? That's just not serving us. Is it serving us? Are people healthier? Are people happier? We have to start looking objectively, and that's what I'm here for, right? I'm here to look objectively at things. I've been blessed with getting information from certain people, right? And finding information and reading and doing all these things, right? Because I know a lot of you guys don't have the time for that. And trust me, I had to somehow make time, but there's been a lot of sleepless nights in this, right? There's been a lot of stress. There's been a lot of trying to fit a lot of things in to get this done. But we've gotten a lot of information now, right? And I've been able to see and meet a lot of great people who've been able to drop some jewels on me and show me the way a little bit. Like, I gotta just say shout out. I gotta shout out Sebi. I gotta shout out Nature Boy. I gotta shout out Bruce Lipton. I gotta shout out Robert Morris. I gotta shout out all these people. So all these people are integral in our awakening, right? They're integral in moving forward, progression, understanding ascension, understanding all of these things, right? And I'm just a vessel to just pass along the word, right? Because who am I if I hear a truth and I don't give it to you guys?